This is the awkward part that we cut out at the beginning.
Okay,
Oh, we're live.
Okay.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey.
And Coach Tom.
And this is Shot Science Overtime number 203.
Wow. Wow.
And
that blows me away.
Yeah, and you guys might notice that we have a different background going on right here. This is part of our new studio setup that we've been putting together because we're going to be doing some more videos for you guys on YouTube and in other places too. So hopefully that's a little bit exciting. We got people showing up already. We got Decantion. Hello, what's going on? So hopefully that is a cool thing. We'll show you guys a whole studio at some point, and eventually we're gonna have some cool like basketball, shot skis and stuff like that that we put on the wall, and we're gonna have you guys help us figure out what we should have in there. Okay, so what we're gonna do today is we're gonna have our topic that we talk about like we do at every show. And you guys are going to send us your questions while we're talking about that topic. Yeah. So send us those questions now. Anything you want to talk about, anything basketball related, shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, how to talk to your coach, athletic training, that list that I've said every time that we've had one of these shows. We'll do our best to answer as many of those questions as we can. But we're going to hit our topic first. And our topic is something that we think is something that is interesting. Usually we do something that we think is going to help you guys become a better basketball player, but we want to ask this kind of general question of you guys because this is something that kind of swirls around a lot around youth basketball. And even if you guys aren't in youth basketball, we'd love to hear like what your opinions are on it too.
Well, you probably have experiences playing youth basketball too.
And you have an opinion just like everybody else. So
that's right.
Our question for that, or our topic for today, is going to be, should rules for youth basketball be changed? And we'll get into that in just a little bit. But we want to make sure that you guys go check out shotscience.com. Exactly. Go check out all of our social pages, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. We want to make sure you guys follow us there. If you guys want to go get a Shot Science shirt and help represent the team, that's awesome. That helps us do all the cool new stuff that we want to do. And there's other things at shotscience.com that you can get too. Right. Let's see. Oh, we got people showing up. We have Alex Zarate who says hello. Batman Robin says, hey guys, what's up? LeBron James, it's 121 where I am. Awesome. Decantation says, what's good? Cool. So before we, I can't even remember what we usually do here. But before we get into our question, how about we ask the question that we ask every week when we do one of these shows? And that is this.
Where are you located in the world? Yeah. We really want to know that.
Yeah, where are you guys from? Yeah. Are you from Japan? Are you from South America somewhere?
And you can tell us what time it is, too, if you want to.
Yeah, it looks like people are already doing that. Are you from, England? We want to know where you guys are from. Right. If you want to leave the timestamp of where you guys are, too, that's all good, too.
That's good.
Okay, so let us know where you guys are from. And like Alex is from Mexico. Let us know where you guys are from. Let's get into our topic. Our topic for today, and we apologize for being a little rusty. We haven't done this very much in the recent few months, but we're going to get back into it. Our topic for today is, should youth basketball change the rules? Yeah. And so tell us what you mean by that.
Well, there's been discussion from people in the NBA about changing some of the rules of youth basketball, and the rules essentially being centered around this: that number one, that they don't play any zone defense; that all defense played man to man. And I know why people on those youth teams play only. But mostly zone defense.
Before we jump into that, let's hit all the things that we think are kind of topics for this rules changes. All right. So one would be the defense that's played. Right. 2 would be like a shot clock or something like that. 3 would be lowered baskets. Yes. 4 would be smaller basketballs. Right. 5 would be maybe amount of play time, like a minimum amount of play time.
Making sure that everybody gets some equal time playing the game. Because it's not about winning and losing so much there, even though an awful lot of coaches who are involved in that kind of let that direct what they do and who they play and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I think the real bottom line of all this stuff too is that, should youth basketball be played and run like the higher levels of basketball?
Yeah, well, in my opinion, I think that it's really good. When I first read it, I thought, well, this will be interesting to find out what's going on here. But it really was a proposal to change youth basketball across the country, across the United States. I don't know if it'll ever take hold because there's going to be a lot of people probably here on the opposite side saying, well, it's fine like it is. But I think by changing some of those rules that we just talked about a few minutes ago, it will help kids develop better skills.
Well, one of the things talk about those too.
Well, yeah, I'm going to. One of the things that comes to my mind right away is using the smaller ball. And I know in some groups they use a 28.5 basketball for younger kids, but there's actually a smaller ball than that that you could use as well. And it allows people to have better control of the basketball, and also probably helps in shooting because you've got a smaller ball in your hand as you get ready to shoot it. And I think that probably is really a good idea to use a smaller ball.
Well, the thing is, too, is that we are dealing with people that are have smaller bodies, have less strength generally than people that are a little bit older. Yeah. And, you know, we're asking them to use the equipment of these people that are larger and older and stronger. Yeah. And that's difficult because what happens is that person has to compensate for their lack in those areas. Yeah. So when it comes to things like shooting or dribbling or passing or any of that stuff, you have to make a compromise, usually in your mechanics, in being able to get the ball off or control the ball or get the ball to the proper height, all of those things. Right. And so maybe having the smaller equipment, more body appropriate size stuff, it allows that person to level up as they, you know, advance in their development in terms of their strength and their age and all that stuff. Right. And it doesn't compromise their mechanics. Yeah,
and you know, kids can learn to do some of those things at a very early age, but the size and the weight of the basketball itself can be very cumbersome for those small hands, and the fact that they don't have very much strength.
Okay? Yeah, well, I mean, you see it all the time. Like if you watch videos on YouTube or Facebook and you got the kid that's 5, 6, 7 years old and they're shooting that 29.5 ball and they're shooting it on a 10-foot rim, they have to put that thing down by their feet and then just shot put it as high as they possibly can. Yeah. That doesn't help develop good mechanics for when they start getting to the age where they can actually shoot that. Right. And so maybe that's why you end up with people that have funky shots as they get older. Yeah. It's because they've developed those movement patterns. That's what's familiar to them, and maybe that will limit them in the long run too.
Yeah, really. You know, one of the things too that is real important about this whole thing is lowering the baskets down so that strength problem is not so pronounced as it is if they're trying to put the ball in a 10-foot basket with a 29.5 ball. And so by dropping that down, and they make baskets that you can actually hang over the existing baskets that bring you down to about 8 feet. And I've seen a lot of the recreation leagues around here that use those, and the kids aren't bad. You know, they don't have to reach down by their socks in order to shoot the basketball like Casey was talking about.
Well, I mean, if you look at a lot of the other sports do like appropriate body-sized equipment and stuff. Yeah, exactly. If you watch T-ball or any of the Little League stuff, you know, those guys aren't using the professional bats or the professional baseballs or whatever. You know, they're using stuff that is appropriate for their size, or Pop Warner football or whatever it is. Sure. You know, there is concessions made for your size.
Yeah, and so those kinds of elements are really important. One of the things I think is really important too is that when players are selected on teams, you always have an overbalance of some that are really pretty good, some in the middle that are okay, and some that aren't sure if they can clap their hands or not because you've got all these kids and you try to bring them in. And so one of the things that I think is really important is that they learn not only how to play the game, but they also learn how to pass, how to shoot, how to dribble. And so often you find kids that are playing in those levels that they can't do any of that stuff. Certainly practice time is usually cut way back because maybe you only get to practice a couple hours a week, and that doesn't leave very much time. But still, people need to learn how to do that. I think too much emphasis in youth basketball is put into running plays. You know, one of the things that happens with the young mind like that, it's really difficult for them sometimes to process, to understand all of the elements of running a play and what you're doing, why you're doing it, who you want to have the shot, and that sort of thing. I mean, you get higher levels, and that's really what offense is about, is you're trying to create an opening for a person that is capable of making that shot from that spot. And so When you have youth basketball, you try and do the same thing. It doesn't work out very well. And so one of the things that has always been in the back of my mind is that coaches teach people how to play one-on-one basketball, and they teach them how to play two-on-two basketball, and then they teach them how to play three-on-three basketball.
Yeah,
and those are the build-ups that kind of build your game and what you can do. In one-on-one, you need to know what you can do to get open for offense. Maybe you drive the basket. In your two-on-two, maybe you want to set screens for each other and come off those screens. I want to work a little bit on give and go and those sort of things. And so I think by changing those elements and make those more important in developing young players, you find that players are going to really improve a whole bunch.
Yeah, it comes
to say nothing of the shooting skills.
It comes down to like teaching players how to play instead of how to run plays.
Yes.
Because plays break down, plays fail. You got to know what to do when those things happen.
Yeah.
And you will be in much better shape if you're capable of just going out there and playing.
Exactly.
And if you're constantly having to run plays, that can be a real hardship when it comes down to consistency and the ability to improvise and things like that. So if you are teaching those kids how to play, whether that's doing all the things you're talking about, showing them how to move without the basketball, how to execute in the group setting with as an individual, all that stuff, that is super important. So teaching players how to play is more important than giving them a book full of plays when they're 9, 10 years old. I mean that is the worst thing you can do. If you have one play, that's better than having those 12 plays for those kids.
Yes.
If you just show them how to run an offense that stays with good spacing and attacks and looks for shots, that's really way better.
Yeah.
And an offense that can refresh itself if it breaks down. All that is way more important. Yeah. Okay. Also, we got people in here that are saying they are from these different places. We have Gold from America. We have Decantations who says, I'm from California, but I'm in the Philippines. Alex is from Mexico. Awesome. So people keep telling us where you guys are from as more people show up. Looks like everybody's talking about their heights and what ages they are. So if you want to send that in, that's cool too. Cool. We would like to see that stuff. But make sure you guys go out there and tell your friends and family to check us out right now to help us grow the live show. And if you guys have questions on basketball, send those to us now because we're going to jump into those pretty soon. And we haven't seen all that many yet. So please send those to us. Yeah. We have Brian Kelly from Ireland. That's super cool. Brian. All right. So please send us your questions on anything basketball related. Okay, so back to
nobody from topic. Lithuania, Casey?
Not yet. Okay. Oh, and Denvi Star, our friend from Russia, is here too. Where did he go? Yep, really glad to see you, coaches.
Oh, great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So we're glad to see you too.
It's glad to be back.
Okay, so getting back to that, and having the lower hoops too, like that is something that you have to look at these bodies too. When you have a kid that's 4 feet tall trying to shoot on a 10-foot rim, that is so different from a person that's 6 feet tall. And trying to shoot at a 10-foot rim. So give them the ability to actually develop their mechanics without having to make this compromise in strength and size and all that stuff.
Be our guest too, that everyone that is watching here or who may watch as we go along have played youth basketball and some level of it anyway. And so you probably can identify with some of these problems. And if you can think of things that you can remember being particularly difficult for you, share them with us so we can share them with everybody else. That would really be cool.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too, is that, another topic, when it comes down to playing time and the drive to win and all that stuff, I think that, trying to win games, I think that's great because that teaches competition and that also teaches kids how to lose and to win and all that stuff. That's good. But there definitely needs to be like a mandatory minimum amount of time that kids get to play. And probably it should just be even across the board so that there's no, favoritism or, any of that stuff for the younger kids.
Yes.
So if you're playing in youth basketball and you're in like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, you should be, you should know that you're going to get this specific amount of time, whether it's half the game or whatever. As you get a little bit higher up and you're playing middle school and high school basketball, that will start to change because there is more of a kind of emphasis on winning, and you are part of the team in a different sense.
Yes,
in that
that's
way.
that's very true.
Right?
Yep.
So we want to know what you guys think about that. Should players have, you know, in these youth leagues where maybe it's like 5th grade and lower or something like that, should they have a minimum amount of time that they play? Should there be a real focus on winning? You know, I'm not a big fan of trophies for everybody.
No,
you know, I don't, you know, participation trophies, I'm not a big fan of that stuff. But I think it's important that everybody in those lower levels gets their fair share of time, because that's how you develop. And you know, also at that age, people are developing at different paces and in different ways. So it's not something where, you know, if you're this 4th grader and you're really lagging behind all these people, that you won't suddenly catch up a few years later or something like that. So I think it's important to keep that stuff going.
Yeah, well,
Brian Kelly says, I agree. I hate participation trophies.
yeah. Well, you know, those things probably are kind of passing on as we go along. But another thing that really is kind of troublesome about all of this is the fact that coaches come in with the idea that they're going to win those games. That's the wrong approach as far as I'm concerned. I can remember when we started a local club, and we started out with a couple of teams, maybe 2, 3 teams, I think, of different ages.
Well, these are competitive club teams.
These are competitive club teams. But one of the things that we did is we eventually grew into about 8 or 10 different teams at different levels. And one of the rules that we had is that everybody had to play half of the basketball game. And so, and the reason for that is that you can't learn to play a basketball game effectively, or most any sport effectively, unless you have time on the field, on the court, participating and doing what is expected. You may screw up. Oh, well, the world doesn't come to an end when you mess up or have an error or whatnot. I mean, and I've seen coaches take a player out right away. He's 5 years old and he loses the ball on the dribble. So what? We see guys who are playing in the pros who do exactly the same kind of thing. Do they get taken out? Sometimes, but usually it's just passed over as being part of the game. Okay?
Yeah, well, those are teachable moments, you know.
And they really are. And I could see, if you had the ability to do that, is take a timeout and talk to that particular young person, or take them out of the game and talk to them about what they didn't get done right, what they really need to work on, put them right back in again. And, you know, that happens on all levels. I work with a young coach. I've been doing this for a long time. And so I leave pretty much a lot of those answers to those problems to himself. And then on the other side of that, sometimes I have to coach him up, get him back in the game. We just screwed up, coach. That's all right. He needs to get back in the game so he doesn't lose his confidence. So you want to take and keep building on each person's confidence as a way of making this happen too. And I think that's important.
Yeah,
okay?
And you know,
sorry to be so long-winded.
No, and I think that, you know, it's important too. Like, if you are a young player, and this is probably not something when you're in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, 6th grade, or whatever that you're going to be thinking about, but definitely if you're a parent or you are a coach yourself, is that there should be a balance between, you know, the drive to win and also individual skill development. Yeah. You know, a lot of the talk about AAU and the kind of the major downfalls of AAU and these club teams and all that is that there's an emphasis on winning and then a very secondary emphasis on individual skill development,
exactly.
Which is really what you as a player need to be focused on.
Right.
And if you're not focused on being you know, developing your game, then why are you participating in this in this kind of thing that is really more to satisfy the coach or the team or whatever it is?
Right.
Like, you want to be part of this you know, thing so that you are getting better as a player.
Yeah.
So I think that is important. Okay, so we want to know what you guys think. Do you think that there needs to be some rules changed in youth basketball, some kind of like guidelines across the board? Yeah. Let us know what you think those should be. Should it be lower hoops? Should it be smaller basketballs? Should it be a certain amount of playing time? Should there be any kind of constraints put on coaches or parents or referees or any of that stuff? We want to know what you guys think. So leave those comments down in the comments, and we're going to jump into answering some of your guys' questions. Make sure that you guys follow us on all of our social media stuff, whether that's on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. We are in all those places, and we love to talk to you guys throughout the week on that stuff. Make sure that you also check out shotscience.com for all of our shirts and gear and the All Access membership area. Also, make sure that you guys tell us where you guys are from in the world. We want to know. That's the question of the day. So let us know. Okay, we're gonna jump into answering your guys' questions. If you guys have more questions, get them in now. We want to talk to you guys. Okay, Alex Zarate, who's been here many times before, he says, "What can I do to improve my shooting range?"
Well, one of the biggest problems with shooting range has to be that you don't use your legs properly. And especially young players, they have a tendency to try and move the ball to the basket with one hand and start down by the crotch and bring it way up. Or they take and use both hands to shoot the basketball. And the way that our bodies work when we're shooting the basketball is we figure, that's shot science figures, and this is how we teach it too, that 20% of our power comes from our shoulders and arms and hands. And that 20% of the power is mostly directed toward guidance. It's guiding the ball where we want it to go.
It's the fine focus.
Exactly. And one of the things that happens is that when we get another hand involved, oftentimes that will cause the ball to go right and left. We're not going to spend any time on that. But the thing that is really important is to understand that about 70 to 80% of your power comes from your core muscle groups, which is in your waist and hips and whatnot, which include your bum, the large muscles of your upper leg and lower leg.
It's your lower chain. So
yeah, that's
quads, hamstrings, your glutes, your core being your abs and things like that.
Yeah. Okay, let me elaborate on that.
That's your powerhouse.
Yes. And one of the things that happens when we're learning how to shoot, if we don't have really good direction, is we have a shot that we break into two parts. And part one is extension of the legs. Then there's a stop. And it's momentary, but as soon as the legs are straight, there is no more power that's coming from those legs. And then all of it comes from the arms, which is only about 20%.
Not good.
Not good. And so what happens, the shot tends to be flat, and it also tends to be short of the basket.
Yeah.
But whenever you get a one-part shot where you're connecting the legs to the stroke, it is crazy how effortless it is to shoot the basketball.
Yeah, the connectivity, that fluid shot. Okay, but you're trying to improve your shooting range, so that is definitely super important.
Yeah.
Also, doing consistent, progressive, moving back away from the basket.
Yeah.
So you start in close, you work on all that very close form shooting, and then as soon as you master that short area, you take a step back, master that area, take a step back, master that area, and it might take you a week, it might take you 2 weeks, but you just take the progression back.
Yeah.
You don't just go from 2 feet to 20 feet.
Yeah.
That's a great way to have your shot
losing
breakdown.
proposition,
Yeah.
really.
Progressively get there. Okay, it looks like Decantation says, "I'll watch the next stream if I can, but I'm sleepy. Sorry, but this is the time we do it. But we'll be glad to see you next time. This also goes up as a YouTube video, so you can watch it later." Alvin Bong Hui Min says, "How do we practice game-like situations by ourselves on the court? I maybe exaggerate a little bit, but I do my Mamba mentality and love to work on my game as early as I can, 5 a.m. Okay, how do we work on our game-like situations by ourselves on the court? That is a little tough, but you have to be creative. So you can do some visualization. You can pretend like you have a defender there. A lot of it is just about having the intensity and the game execution of game speed, and then you'll be in a good spot. But it is good to find somebody that can help work with you on that.
Yeah, one of the things that's really critical in developing the skill that you're talking about, or the skills that you're talking about, is your aptitude for the game. Some people don't have sufficient aptitude where they can do what Casey's saying, visualize this particular thing happening, because they don't have enough experience. And so as you gather more experience, then you can be a little bit more imaginative in some of the drills that you put together to be the next Mamba.
Okay, this is from Brian Kelly. He says, "I don't know about what happens in the U.S., but in Ireland up to under 14 level, the same players can't play 2 quarters in a row." That's cool.
I think that's a great idea. And coaches get pretty resourceful. when they're using their players, so that they have the players and the right players in there at the right time to make them more effective. Usually toward the end of the game.
Yeah, I was in Ireland in October, and I saw tons of basketball courts and nobody playing basketball.
Nobody there. Wow.
And it was hard to find a place to buy a basketball too.
Well, tell us about that. Brian was his name, right? Brian Kelly?
Yeah, Brian Kelly.
Let us know more about that.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah.
Spread the word there. Okay, let me find another one here. This is from a Decantation. I guess, hopefully you're still around. How do I develop my plays? I'm 12 and got a good shot, but when I'm not feeling it, what should I focus on?
Focus on the stroke.
Yep. Focus on the finish. And
there's just no question about it. Sometimes what happens, and we're unaware of it oftentimes as players, of what's going on. I can't tell you how often I get phone calls from my former students who will say, they'll call me up and say, hey, coach, can I come by? My shot's really awful right now. And they'll come by and we'll watch it for a few minutes, and then, okay, this looks like this is the problem, and then we'll begin to work on it, and you can just see that shot start to come back around. And it was something that got into their stroke that they were totally unaware of. Maybe it was finishing in the wrong direction. Maybe it was not finishing the shot correctly. But anyway, usually one of the things we do too is that we video players.
Yep.
And we video them from the front, side, and back, so that we can say, okay, you see this right here? This is what's going on. Oh, okay.
And when you get into your head and you start kind of telling yourself that you're not going to do it, and you're terrible, and you're horrible, and you're the worst, and you should quit, and all that stuff, that is a great way to just make the cycle just perpetuate itself.
Yeah, really.
The players that are able to continue up the levels and become great at each level are the ones that are able to coach themselves. They're able to analyze their own shot. They're their own best coach, and they can make the tweaks and understand when and where to do that, than the players that they just have one issue and that their whole life falls apart. So if you are shooting and doing all these different skills, you should know why you're doing all the different elements of them, because that will help you figure out, oh, well, I'm bricking it off the front rim. I guess my shot is probably flat. I need to make sure I elevate my elbow more, and and that'll be my fix for that. Oh, I'm missing off the left or right. Maybe I'm not finishing directly to the basket. Whatever it is, you're able to kind of zero in on what the issues are, or kind of triage them and figure out, okay, if this isn't working, then this is going to work, and you don't lose your mind if things aren't going your way. And you keep shooting. That's the thing. Don't stop shooting. Zeno says, greetings from Amsterdam. I think that you've been here before. They say, I personally feel the rules for youth basketball should be exactly the same as those they'll have to deal with later on. Well, I think that there's a point where that is probably true, when maybe you're getting more towards an adult body. But I think when you are a kid, it is impossible for you to properly be able to play and develop mechanics in the right way if you're 2 feet shorter and have half the strength of somebody that's older.
Right. And I kind of agree with what he's saying. I guess that's Zeno's a he. I kind of agree with what you're saying, but I think there's a division line there, maybe around 13, 12 or 13, where they're ready to make the transitions into a full-scale basketball, as opposed to one that has a little more restrictions on it. And those restrictions are only intended to help the play develop. There's a local coach and commentator, Jay Billis, he's a national commentator, and he is really for this. It was interesting to read his information about how he felt this would affect the game positively.
Yep. Let's see here. Well, if you think about it too, it's just like if you are going to work out at the gym. Are you going to load up the bar with 315 and try to bench press that your first time there? I mean, you gotta have to build up to it, and I think that's the same thing with any kind of sport. You got to build up. You may not be able to handle the 29.5 and the 10-foot rim and the 94 feet and all that stuff. I mean, that's really hard to just jump in and start doing that.
It really is.
Especially if you are not an adult. You're basically just a small kid.
Looks like Brian is getting back to us there.
Brian is saying, gyms are normally, this is in Ireland, gyms are normally locked. That's because they normally are owned by town councils who rent the halls out to local teams to practice, so to go indoors and you get a court, you have to pay the same price as the clubs do. Ooh, that sucks. This can be very expensive. You can't just walk into a gym and play pickup or shoot yourself. The only places to play are with clubs or by yourself at home, and there are very few outdoor courts. Basketball is a small minority. Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of basketball courts, but they were also like half basketball, half soccer or football. It was like something else as well. But I saw nobody shooting baskets. I saw no basketballs. I went into a store in downtown Dublin, and there was they didn't even know what a basketball was. Basically, I had to go up to the top floor of this big sporting goods store, and they had little rubber basketballs. They didn't even have a full size one. So
well, maybe there's a niche for us there, Casey.
Yeah. So what's up with basketball in Ireland? I want to know.
Yeah. And
okay.
What can we do to help?
Yeah.
That's more important. What can we do to help?
It seems like it would be a great place for it too, because you know it's an indoor sport, and there's a lot of rain in Ireland. It's not always the greatest weather to be outside, but I don't know. Hopefully it catches on. Alex Zarate says lifting weights affects my shot in a bad way. It depends. You have to have a good, solid approach to your training, and I think it's a terrible idea to lift weights and do all that and then go practice your shooting or practice anything basketball related. Do the basketball stuff first, then do the weight training stuff. Also, if you are doing weight training at the expense of your basketball training, I think that's a poor plan if you want to be a better basketball player. Developing your skills will always trump any amount of strength and muscularity you're able to add to yourself. Right. That really comes into play when you become like a college level player and above, in my opinion.
I think you're right on that one, Casey.
Alvin Bong Hui Min says, why is the travel rule stricter in high school and college compared to the NBA today? It's always been this way.
It has.
NBA basketball is for entertainment.
Yes.
And they are trying to give the advantage to the most exciting part of the game, which is the offensive attack.
Yeah.
And that is generally why. But, it has become extremely loose. I mean, you see, James Harden and Russell Westbrook and a few of the other guys, they are taking more steps than you would ever imagine being allowed to happen.
Yeah.
But it's just the way it is. A lot of people just complain about it, but the fact of the matter is that it's part of the game. I mean,
it's part of their game, the NBA game. Yes, it is.
Let's see. This is from Alvin, too. He says, regards on shooting, I make more shots in a non-comfortable form compared to a comfortable form. Every time I felt comfortable shooting, my shot are mostly short.
Well, there's probably reasons for that.
I would say that the wrong way to look at it is something being comfortable or uncomfortable.
Yeah. Here's the deal that you have to remember on this, and that is, if you're going to be changing your shot from what you're doing, you are also changing the muscle memory for that shot. And anytime you start messing with the muscle memory that you have already established, the next thing that you're working on with regard to that is not going to feel good. And it takes a while for you to get over that. And we have what we call our form shooting drill that we give for homework for every new student, because we had one come in the other day and the shot was so flat, she couldn't get the ball in to save her life. And then we started working on the mechanics where we're getting a little more arc and a nice finish with the wrist and whatnot. And, by the end of our session, which was about an hour, she was starting to put the ball in the hole pretty good. And I said, how does that feel? And she says, it doesn't really feel very good at all. Well, here's the reason. You're establishing a new muscle memory, and when you get that established sufficiently, you're going to shoot the ball better than you have before, and it's going to feel better.
Yeah, and you should really be looking for getting the fundamentals down and then getting them efficiently down.
Yep.
And once you do that, everything will start to feel more comfortable the more you do it.
It does.
I mean, you can do things that feel comfortable, and it can just be a totally trash shot.
Oh, yeah.
So I think looking at it in terms of how comfortable it is probably not the best.
Yeah, one of the things that I would really recommend, that if you're having trouble with your shot, that maybe you get some help with it. If you can't, you can go to our videos. We'll help you with it with our videos. You can even contact us with videos that you want us to take a look at, and we'll do that to help you out as well.
Yeah, and if you want to have online coaching sessions with this guy, you can do that, and we can set that up. So you just need to email us or contact us through social media.
Absolutely.
And you have a little bit of experience with teaching shooting,
a little
I think.
bit.
This is from Alvin, too. He says, same goes for my country. In Malaysia, basketball is considered a minority compared to football in my country. Like Brian said, basketball is considered a little expensive because in Asia, you pay for indoor.
Uh-huh.
Interesting. I mean, in the U.S., you can pretty much go to any school and any park, and there is an outdoor basketball court.
Oh, yeah. And there usually is a number of them.
And there's YMCA's and gyms you can get into. So it's kind of crazy to think that it's hard to find a place to play. But that's good for you guys if you're actually going out there and figuring that stuff out.
Well, and you can be pretty ingenious. Casey, from time to time, will post photographs of people who were playing in the worst possible conditions that you could imagine, with the equipment. The basket is made out of a plastic basket, and the backboard is just kind of hammered together. Yeah, I mean
it is. I know that we posted some stuff from Malaysia and a lot from the Philippines.
The Philippines, those people really spend time playing basketball.
Yeah, yeah. It is about figuring out and making it happen. Yeah. The FIOs and MIHs.
Well, just stop and think about this from another point of view. If you were to take and find a place where you could put a basketball hoop up and maybe get a little court down there, then you could charge the money for people to come and play with that.
You could do that, or you could get a group of friends together. You guys could buy a basketball hoop together, and you could have your own thing. You could charge other people to come play.
Exactly. Make it a business.
Yeah. So I think that people that are making it happen, that's awesome. Okay, we're going to do another one here real quick. Oh, LRD TV says, I'm from the Philippines.
All right. How cool.
Oh, and Alvin says, not just indoor basketball shoes are around $600 after currency exchanges. Yikes!
Where is that?
Alvin is from Malaysia.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Play barefoot.
Yeah. Wow.
That sucks, man. Let's see here.
Now, hang on for a second. I'm going to go back quite a long time ago. This is probably 50 years ago. I got a note from this young man from, I'm not going to mention the country or anything.
It was in Africa, right?
It was. And the note was, could you send me some basketball shoes? I can't afford to buy any basketball shoes. And so I get together and we sent 20 pairs of basketball for shoes to him and whoever he wanted to give them to. And never heard back from him again, but I'm sure that they were well used. And sometimes you can kind of reach out like that. And I mean, the shoes at the time probably were cost us $15 maybe, and which today probably cost you $150.
There was no Air Jordans then.
Yeah. But the same thing, maybe there's another way to do it.
Yeah.
Get the shoes, get some kind of shoes. They don't have to be $600.
Yeah, maybe that's something that Shot Signs can work on too.
Yeah,
we can figure out something about
Casey.
that.
Yeah.
Let's see. This one is from Brian, who says, is there any drills I can do by myself to improve my defense, or do I need to play? You need to do both. But you can by yourself work on your defensive mechanics. You can work on the proper step slides. You can work on making sure that you stay down in the stance. You can have your mom or dad help you in terms of, like, maybe they go one way or they go the other way and how you react. You can work on the footwork. Footwork is always something that you can work on by yourself.
Well, it is, and then the proper footwork. Not enough is really said, particularly on the lower levels, about how important your footwork is. It's important in offensive basketball. It's important in shooting the basketball. It's important on defense as well. And how you use your feet is probably the biggest difference between people who are average and those who are above average defenders. The quickness, how they do it, like Casey was talking a while ago, is we teach step drag, where we step out, keep the feet lower to the floor, and we drag the other one in, and your feet never come close together, because as soon as your feet come close together, your body starts to straighten up, and that's when you get slow.
Okay, we're going to do quick couple ones right here, because you have to go teach basketball.
I do.
Alex says, I have a little brother that plays basketball, but he struggles with his shot because he doesn't have the strength enough to shoot. What could he do? He needs to do the things that we were talking about earlier. Maybe get a small hoop, small ball, and work on getting those mechanics the right way. Yeah. And then you graduate up as you go. You don't stay on the small stuff, but you graduate up.
Yeah.
Hang on. Artur Kubiak says, hello guys, greetings from Poland.
Okay. Nice to hear from Poland as well this afternoon. But here's the important thing to remember is that make sure that the young people are getting the right shooting mechanics. Shooting in the United States is probably one of the weakest skills that they have.
It's starting to change a little bit because of people like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Ray Allen and
a little bit.
But yeah, for a long time there, for sure, it was not, the shooting was not high on the list.
Right, and I see lots and lots of high school and junior high school players who have the worst mechanics in the world, and so they need coaching.
Okay, Zeno says, what do you think about bank shots, mid-range? Would you recommend it, or would you recommend not using the board? Is one more efficient than the other? Of course, it all depends on what you practice. There is a specific area of the court that bank shots are essential for. And it is that just kind of offset, short 17 area.
Well, and when you've got that angle on the basket where you can actually, I mean, that was a big deal with John Wooden when he was coaching at UCLA, and probably many of you don't even know who that is, but he was an older coach, and he had his guys shoot bank shots anytime they were on the sides of the basket rather than going right to the hoop. My particular feeling on it is this: do what works for you. Last night in the Cavaliers game, LeBron James hit a bank shot from way over in the corner to win the game for him. I think whatever works for you is really important. That's the direction you go.
Yeah, and everybody's different. But if you try bank shots in that little area, there's a special area right there on the side of the basket. You can try to make that shot.
Exactly.
But it is. Every person is different. Okay, so that's going to do it for our questions for you guys today. We want to thank you for being here. We also want to let you guys know that this is our new background that we're working on, and this is insight that we're not telling everybody but the people that are here. We are going to be putting stuff on shelves and things behind us that are basketball related. We have an old basketball, we have some old trophies, and we have stuff like that we want to put on there. But we want to know what you guys want to see on this too.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So let us know. Are there pictures that you guys want to see? Any kind of vintage basketball stuff that you like? We'd love to see that stuff. So let us know.
Coach's vintage.
Yeah.
Coach's vintage.
Yeah. And we've already shot a few new things that we're going to put out here really soon for you guys, and we're going to start making more videos and get things going again. We also want to know where in the world you guys are from. We had Brian from Ireland. We had Alvin from Malaysia, and we want to know where everybody is from. So keep sending those in the comments. Make sure you follow us on all our social media stuff. That really helps us, and we like talking to you guys throughout the week and everything. So join us on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and make sure you comment back to us so that we know that you guys were watching with that stuff. Go to shotscience.com. We'd love it if you guys would get Shot Science shirts.
Awesome.
You can get the vertical jump training box there, and you can join the All Access Pass. If you guys want hats, we can try to figure that one out too. And make sure that you guys are here next time for our show, usually at Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific time.
What does Alvin say there? I can't read that from here.
Alvin says, stick more 90s basketballs, bring back memories. 90s basketball. 90s NBA, I guess. Huh?
All right.
So like Jordan dunking from the free throw line or their 6-time championship wallpaper. Yeah, we'll probably have some Jordan stuff on there, I would think. Okay, so thank you guys very much. We'll see you next time. Got to go coach some basketball.
All right.
Bye.